This month I've had a couple of golfers come and see me down at the golf projects, really suffering with swaying in the golf swing, both back but especially on the downswing, almost leaning back, getting this spine angle tilted too much, struggling to rotate the hips on the way through, causing those top shots, duff shots, you name them, seeing the golf shots go way offline. And this is no good if you're looking for more accuracy and better ball striking, especially with your irons, which is what we're going to be covering in this video today. Welcome to the channel. If you're fairly new, my name is Harry, PJ Golf Professional, down here coaching at the golf projects, transforming golfers worldwide. And if you'd like to get involved, drop a comment down below the tips or drills topic you would like me to cover in a future video. And in today's video, we're going to be answering a question that came up a few days ago from someone who's really suffering, feels like they're almost leaning back in their golf swing way too much and almost topping the golf ball too much, especially with the irons. They find that driver, finding it very easy to hit, but with the irons, they're really struggling with that ball striking. They think it is because they're swaying in the golf swing, and this is what we're going to be looking at today. How can we stop this? Can we look at an easy, fast way to stop the swaying from happening in your golf swing? Well, in order for us to do this, we want to be covering three things. Number one, we want to be understanding how the body works in the golf swing. Number two, we also want to be understanding why we actually sway in the first place. And number three, we're going to be looking at a simple drill you can do step by step that's going to help you stop doing this action in your golf swing. So kicking things off with the first one, understanding what the body does in the golf swing and how the body moves. The way to think of it here is that if we were just to forget golf just for a sec, now bear with me with this, and pretend we're playing baseball, we would stand very tall, very vertical to the ground, wouldn't we, like this here, with the baseball bat, imagining this is a baseball bat for the time being. I'm going to grip down it just to make it a little bit more realistic with this. The bat here is very much parallel to the ground like so. So if I was to make contact with a ball from this height here, where would I swing? I would swing this way, very much lateral and parallel, on a parallel plane almost to the ground. But we're not swinging from this position here, are we? We're swinging from this position here. We are tilting over to hit those golf shots. So rather than the golf swing working up and down or completely round, it's going to be working somewhere in the middle on an almost 45-degree angle. I've spoken about this in a video in the past, and what this means is that you have a look at the club shaft there. We want to be working it on what we call a swing arc around the body. And you can see as I start to do this, just making a couple of swings doing this, we can see how the body should and how it does move in the golf swing. A lot of golfers have a tendency to stay very still, very over the ball or too upright like this, but not allowing themselves to freely turn and rotate in the swing. They just stay there, nothing frees up and nothing works in their favor. If a baseball was coming at you and you were getting ready to hit, what would you do? Would you go like this? No. You'd load it as much as you can. You'd get the body working in your favor, really firing this bat at the ball to then see it go absolutely miles. And obviously I know that we're not trying to force ourselves to swing the golf club 100% every time, but you get the point. This angle here, it's very easy for us just to turn around and round, and not do too much, to start to see how the body should be turning and moving in the golf swing. Whereas if we go from here, all of a sudden we're in golf mode now. Don't hit that slice, don't hit that hook. Okay, I'm going to make sure I conjure so I get it down the fairway, and it doesn't look very good. So with us being in this natural tilt over the golf ball, and we've spoken about that swing circle, well, the body should naturally move from pressure transferring from almost 50-50, maybe a little bit more on the lead side considering we're hitting an iron here, to more towards the 70-80% mark on the trail side at the top of the swing. And then as we're moving into the downswing and moving on the way through, that center of pressure is moving from the trail side. So for me being a right-handed player, from the right-hand side, moving all the way to the left-hand side as I start to come through to the finish positions. And to get this weight transfer happening naturally in the golf swing, what you'll notice a lot of golfers lack of is allowing the body to free up. Just let it do what it wants. A lot of golfers will, like I've just hit that shot there, they'll stand over it like this here and really struggle to make contact with the golf ball because they're not allowing their body to do its natural thing, to do its magic. In order for the body to get switched on, in order for it to be freeloaded and allow the body to do what it wants, work its magic, what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you just to take the club away for now. Put it on the ground. We don't need that for a sec. I'm going to get you to take your hands and put them on your hips. Okay? And I want you to tilt over as if you would take this golf ball. So we're not going to work it from, obviously, vertical. We're going to be working it from this angle here. And what I tend to see a lot of golfers do is they have their feet very much straight like this here. Very internal as opposed to external. So we saw the difference there. We went from internal to external. You can see there what a difference this makes to my lower body and my hips and core area. Straight away, just from me going from this position here where I feel very rounded, makes it difficult for me to get into a really nice posture position. I feel like I have to almost conjure up and tighten. As soon as I go this way and go more external to begin that setup, you can see here my feet are open up. I feel a more imbalance. My knees have opened up a little bit more. My hips have opened up even more, and it makes it easier for me to stay in this more what we call athletic posture. I understand a lot of people can't do the athletic posture, but it's really important that we get ourselves to as close as point as possible. We can have the rounded upper back if you wanted to, that's fine. If you film yourself doing this, you notice that, no problem whatsoever. But it's really important that we're allowing ourselves just to flare everything out like so then we can allow everything to just move. So for the time being, whilst you're going through this session and you're re-watching this at the driving range or whatever it is that you may be doing, it could be at home practicing this, you're going to place your hands on your hips from this position here. Now you've flared everything out, and I just want you to get a sense of awareness of where that weight is going to be transferring in your swing. We've just spoken about how it's usually around and should be around that 50-50 mark. It's set up maybe a little bit more on the lead side because it's an iron. And from here, to get the pressure moving on to the trail side, and this is what a lot of golfers do, this is where the swaying starts to come into place here, is that they'll just get the pressure going this way. So if we have our feet internally rotated like this, it's very hard for me to turn. So we'll always go this way, like this here. And that's where that shifting starts to come into place. So you can see that my right hip's almost bumping further away from the swing center, be in the middle of the stance here, going this way. So if I just flare those feet out, and I encourage this right hip now just to turn a little bit more. And when I say turn, the feeling for me is that right hip going almost towards my left heel. So trail hip towards lead heel. You can start to really allow yourself to open up in this position here. And what I would be careful when you're doing this is if you go this way, we're going to get a little bit too lateral and too far away from the golf ball. So that can affect strike as well. So when you're setting over here, just ensure that you're keeping your eye on that golf ball, but you can let your head tilt ever so slightly like this here. Keeping your eye on the golf ball rather than thinking keep your head down are two different things. Keeping the head down doesn't allow you to rotate. Keeping your eye on the golf ball allows you to rotate and also keep and maintain the spine angle that we've developed at the start of the golf swing, the setup position. Okay, and now we should be able to start to feel a lot more pressure into the trail side. And to do this again on the way through, we're just going to do the opposite. Lead hip to trail heel. And you should be able to feel it. It may feel like at the start you're almost not tilting backwards, but tilting towards the target, like so, seeing your chest facing towards the target when you do this. And that's really opening up my core area, my hips, and it's allowing my lower body especially to move in the correct way. Allow the body to do its magic. So I want you to do a couple of rehearsal drills doing this just before we move on to stage 2. Stage 2, we want to be understanding why swaying in the golf swing comes in the first place. And I've already covered one of them. One of them in particular is obviously seeing that internal rotation in the feet to start off the golf swing. If we're setting up like this here at the address position, it makes it very difficult for me to turn. So what am I going to do instead to try and get this pressure going through the golf swing? I'm going to sway either side like so. I'm going to shift my hips and struggle to rotate. So that's one of them, but there's also another thing we want to be taking note of as well. A lot of you may have already thought, oh, you know what, I'm actually doing this, so that's great, happy days, but this one stands out even more. And it is that they lack the ability to trust their own golf swing. I know it sounds daft. Again, let me explain this one. So if we stood over the golf ball, even if we've got our feet flared out like so, we've stood out onto the golf course under a little bit of pressure, maybe first tee nerves of the drive, but let's consider an iron now, because obviously one of our goals for the end of this session is to make sure we're getting better ball striking with these clubs. So they'll set up, let's just say they've got that second shot into the first tee nerves are still going, the heart's pumping a little bit too fast, the adrenaline's flowing. They're stood over the golf ball, and because they're feeling so much pressure, they always think, 99% of golfers do this, and sometimes I've done it in the past, is that when we get ready to hit the golf shot, we're thinking, no, I need to make sure I'm getting it down the middle. I need to make sure I'm getting it on the green. I need to make sure I don't mess this up. I can't mess this up. Let's just make sure I'm getting it on the green. I get my par and I can move on to the next hole. Happy days. Let's do it. Oh, for God's sake. And that right there is what can cause you limiting rotation and causing you to sway. If you watch that golf swing again, you may struggle to see the swaying going on, but it's very, very easy for us to almost get too hooked up on what could happen with our golf shots. So when we get too hooked up on what could happen, we start to create a little bit more of an armsy swing, rather than allowing the body to free flow again. And when we get more of an armsy swing, we lack the rotation side of things. We lack the turn into the top of the swing. And we still want to create a full swing. So what do we do to get this full swing? We start to flex this lead arm. We start to bring the hands close to the body. And we start to shift onto our trail side like this here. So we get to here and shift onto our trail side like this. And you can see there how far I've moved away from the swing center. So it's going to be very difficult for me to come back now and try and hit down on that golf ball and get that centered strike. I was able to do that one-handed then, like a little chipping shot on the way through, because I did it very, very slow. Well, just imagine doing that at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour with your 7-iron. That becomes very difficult to achieve, which is why it's really important that although I see so many golfers really suffering with the swaying on the way through, we've got to be curing the backswing first. We've got to be getting you into a state of mind where you are trusting your golf swing a little bit more, trusting your own capabilities in whatever it may be. Can you up and down for that par? Can you hold that putt for birdie? Can you get this drive on the fairway? Any of those things can bring you unwanted pressure on the golf course. I'm going to give you something now that I've given a few of my clients, and it's the difference between two words. Just two words can make a whole difference to the overall outcome of your golf shot. And the word is need. As soon as you start saying, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, you're creating unwanted pressure on yourself. That's going to cause you to get very tense, very rounded, very nervous, and that's when your golf swing is going to struggle to free flow. So what we're going to be doing instead is we're going to be changing that need to the word want. Want in the golf swing plays a huge impact on the overall outcome of the golf shot. So just imagine this, okay? I want to hit this golf ball on the green. I want to hold this putt and see if I can make it. I want to get up and down for that par. I want to hit this fairway. The difference there creates a little bit more what we call, well, I would say excitement. I've tested this myself out on the golf course and the difference is remarkable. Before we move into the third thing, which is learning and understanding how to stop the swing in the golf swing, I'm going to give you a little bit of a bonus tip on this. Now, the golf swing works in reactions, and I say this quite a lot in a few of my videos. And if we're going to twist this way, what are we more likely to do on the downswing? We're going to twist the opposite way. If we're going to swing the club on the inside, what are we more likely to do on the downswing? Go over the top. So if we shift and sway this way to start the golf swing, what are we more likely to do in the downswing? We're more likely to shift this way. So although you may be able to feel it more in the downswing, that's because we're putting a lot more pressure, this transfer of weight onto the lead side here at speed, but this common problem here is just from that first move on the way back. So if we can cure that first move on the way back, it should be so much easier to free flowing that body and making things so much easier for you to get the correct turn in the golf swing. So moving on to number 3, how do we stop swaying into the golf swing? A lot of golfers I'll notice, like I mentioned, the two things we get very much internally rotated, flare the feet out like so. Set up as normal, feel relaxed, allow yourself to just get a sense of awareness of where the pressure is in your feet. Allow it to just get to 50-50 before you start to do anything in your swing. Once you've set the club up ready to go, the idea from here is you want to feel a sensation, a big sensation, that your right hip is turning towards that lead heel. So I mentioned this earlier in stage 1, but we're going to exaggerate this. So I'm going to take an alignment stick because it gives me a really good indication of when I'm doing this correctly. I'm just going to place the ball there, and I'm also going to place the alignment stick here as well, just to show you. Club's going to go on the ground now. Hands, this time around, just so you can see what's going on with the hips, you're going to put them across your shoulders like so. You're going to set up, flare the feet out, and from here we're trying to get that trail hip to work more towards the lead heel. If we think, right, we need to turn in the golf swing, we're going to go this way. And that is going to cause us to sway again. You can see that we get this almost upper body rotation a little bit too much. And just because we're turning doesn't necessarily mean we're winding up correctly in the golf swing. We are still from this position here swaying on the way back, so we want to be making sure we're staying very, very stable in a very good position. Obviously we want to be transferring the weight but not forcing this transfer to take place. So we're setting up here, we're really encouraging that trail hip to move towards the lead heel up until a point where your lead shoulder just comes underneath the alignment stick. You don't need to go ahead of it because that's too much. If I was just to take the club and do that now, and I'm not going to think about anything whatsoever with my arms, hands, wrists and club, I'm just going to take the club back just from feeling this right hip turning. So I'm going to take the club head back, and look how easy that looked for me to get into the top of the backswing position there. Loads of room at the top, lead arm stayed nice and straight, and also it was very much in a controlled manner. None of this hunched over, internally rotated, needing to hit that shot well sort of position here and getting a little bit stuck like this. No good. So let's make sure we're allowing ourselves just a free flow, feet to open up those hips, open up the knees, and let's set up with just really feeling and encouraging this trail hip to turn over towards the lead heel. And for you golfers out there that are so used to really seeing this sway in the golf swing, I'd highly recommend taking the video of yourself before giving this a try and just swinging normally to see how far back it goes, because if it goes excessively too far back with the swaying on the way back, we want to be making sure we're over exaggerating this move. Almost feel like you're going to be going this far forward. Sounds bizarre, but when you go and film yourself on it, you'll be thinking, hang on a sec, that's nowhere near where I want to be. And that's due to the feel versus real concept. So what it feels like to you may not be exactly what it's like, because just imagine how many golf balls you've been hitting doing this motion. So it's really important that you force the opposite motion almost to take place so you can find somewhere in the middle where we want to be. We want to be working around the swing center as much as possible in the golf swing, especially with the irons, not shifting either side, whether it's going too forward or too far back. So for those of you out there who are going to be exaggerating this, just feel that trail hip working towards that lead heel. And you can also just allow yourself just to really free flow with this and allow that heel, the lead heel, just to lift up a little bit, just to really encourage yourself just to get even more of a turn, almost feel like you're adding a little bit more pressure onto the toe of your lead foot here. It may feel like you get a little bit too low, but this is just a feel. This is just you exaggerating this turning motion. But again, we don't want to go like this. We just want to see it turning. We still want to see that right hip, the trail hip moving towards that lead heel, just like this here. But if I was to set up now and do that motion, let's just do that exaggerated motion, feel that pressure going into the lead toe as well as getting that right hip to the lead heel. You can see there, it looks very controlled. I've not thought about a single thing in my backswing. And now I understand a few of you struggle with that outside takeaway position or rolling the wrist too much on the inside. But in order for you to cure any of that officially, you've got to get this bit right. You've got to get the body working the correct way before you can change any sort of positions in the golf swing. Just allow yourself to trust a couple of shots. Really exaggerate this motion taking place. Right hip to lead heel and just swing. Happens on the way through, just happens. But the more you exaggerate this move on the way back, you'll start to feel even more of a reaction. And the way to think of this is a elastic band. The more you pull on that elastic band, the more it wants to fire. So when you let go, it's going to fire even quicker. It's going to do more of the opposite. It's going to move in the opposite direction at even more speed. It's going to exaggerate this movement taking place. And it works the same in the golf swing, because we're only going this way to that way effectively with an elastic band. With the golf swing, we're working this way to that way. Watch the hips when I do this. I'm just going to take the club down and do this again. We're working the hips this way to that way. So you can see there, just from me forcing that backswing move with that trail hip going towards the lead heel, when you get to here, you can feel yourself really wanting to fire because you're under so much pressure. Your body's under so much pressure, so it goes bam. And as you turn on the way through, all I would advise doing is to allow that pressure to be put into the lead side more efficiently for you, rather than just pressing into the ground and staying there and getting too steep onto the golf ball. You're just going to set up, get the sensation, this left hip, the lead hip, turning away from the golf ball. So if I feel like that lead hip is turning away from the golf ball, you can see what that does. It adds more pressure into the lead foot. So that indicates that I'm transferring the weight. I'm staying nicely over the golf ball as I'm twisting and rotating, staying over that swing center to make contact with the golf ball, and then I can swing through up to finish in a very relaxed manner. I'm going to hit a shot doing this just to show you in full flow. So we're thinking right hip works towards that lead heel, then left hip works away from the golf ball. So it's back and through like this. And you can see how much my body was just able to flow in that golf swing. I understand why I've hit that too far to the right, and that's because I'm not thinking about anything else. So don't be so frustrated when you start to see the wayward shots creep back in. That's just you getting used to the feeling of that lower body and the upper body free flowing in the golf swing, because you've been so used to using the arms and having to shift those hips either side and sway in the golf swing. I'm just focused on getting that body to move in the correct way. And please do bear in mind, that's my third shot here this evening at the golf projects on a Friday night. So I'm going to hit another shot just to see if I can redeem myself from that. That felt good. Yeah, much better. Lost a little bit of balance on that one, but that is absolutely fine. If you start to find this is happening, that's fine. It's your brain learning to understand, okay, this is what it feels like. This is what I need to do to stay in balance. Losing balance is just a good thing. It's getting you to understand where that new pressure is moving to, where the pressure is moving to in the feet. It might be a different area for you, and you'll get that as you start to work on this more often. So I hope this helps. Feel free to go ahead, give us a try, and drop another comment down below to let me know how you get on with this. And by all means, feel free to reach out to me on Skillet. I'm offering online coaching on there as well. But do me a favor, check out this video over here, which I believe is a great drill that you can do right after you've really focused on this move here. This one here is getting you to move the body in the correct way. Now you want to start looking into how to position the club in the correct way to start to get that club face working more in your favor. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll see you next time.